Hey. So there you see the 57th governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul, taking a few questions. Again, she'll speak at larger extent later today at 3 o'clock. She said brevity will be the hallmark of her administration, so she does like to keep it brief. But you heard a couple of, I guess, a couple of opening points, first of which being that COVID and the eviction moratorium will be first and second on her list on her agenda, but also that she wants people to believe in government again, and that's probably one of the bigger hurdles. I think the two major points that she made is that she wants a fresh, collaborative approach to government. So what that means to the legislature is no more of a dictator who's going to tell them what to do. She's going to work with them. And secondly, as regards to our own mayor, Mayor de Blasio, she said the words, "There will be no blindsiding," which is something that Bill de Blasio had to endure through all the time that Andrew Cuomo was the governor. The collaboration aspect, though, it sounds good in theory. How realistic is it? Well, I think that that's her intent. And I think that if you take a look at the whole body of her work when she was on local government in Buffalo, that's how she operated. I read something recently that said that when she was a town clerk and before that, she would go to coffee shops and she would talk to people and she would say, "How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that?" Because she did want to have a collaborative approach and she wanted to make sure that she could express the will of the people. And I think you're going to see that in her. I think she's that kind of person. And it seems like already on the Mayor de Blasio side, she just said he called and told me before he made the announcement yesterday about mandating vaccines. So at least it seems like on his part, maybe there's a little bit of a change too. Well, it also seems to indicate that when she meets now with the legislative leaders, which she's doing right as we speak, she's going to talk to them about whether they would support which steps they would support, whether they would require state employees to have vaccines, whether they would inquire other companies to have vaccines, and see how far they're willing to go to support her in whatever mandate she issues. Going to be different, I guess, a different relationship with Mayor de Blasio for this short period of time, whereas we just mentioned you didn't see them both in the same room during this pandemic. Now there's got to be a little, you talk about the collaboration, she's got to familiarize herself a little bit more with the downstaters, and she's going to need probably his help. Well, I think you have to realize that if she wants to get reelected, she has to make an appeal to New York City voters. And she has to show them that she cares about them. And I think there are two issues that people in New York City care about. One is the pandemic and the masking and the vaccines and the economic resurgence. And the second is the MTA and congestion pricing. Those are two hot-button topics that really will determine whether she can get reelected. And speaking of that, we want to bring in political expert Javier Lacayo. He joins us now to talk about what could happen in New York's next gubernatorial election. Javier, thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Javier. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So let's bring you into the conversation here. 4 months until the Democratic gubernatorial primary here in New York. How do you think now Governor Hochul's chances are? I mean, she has a short amount of time to make a big impression across the state.
Look, obviously, Governor Hochul is going to have some tremendous advantages going into a primary. She will be running as the incumbent, which will be helpful for name recognition. It will be helpful as far as raising money. But I think there's some stabilities in her record. Just 2 years ago, she ran statewide for re-election in a race where she really struggled primarily in New York City. She barely won statewide by about 100,000 votes. And some of the things in her past, such as her, notorious opposition of driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants when she was Erie County clerk, her alignment with the NRA, for example, when she was running for Congress. These are things that I think could be really problematic for her in a Democratic primary, especially as she's trying to win over New York City voters. So let me ask you this. Where do you see the competition? If you see vulnerabilities already, who do you see as some potential, I guess, opponents running against her? Absolutely. Look, I think that the biggest challenger and potentially the real front runner of this race is going to end up being Attorney General Tish James. We have seen what a powerful platform the Attorney General's office is when running for the governor's office. Both Eliot Spitzer and Andrew Cuomo were Attorney General before they successfully won statewide election. And Tish James also hails from New York City. The Attorney General has incredibly deep relationships. She's beloved, and her profile has been elevated even more now that she was really the one that was able to bring accountability and oust a governor that folks have been trying to get out of office for years now.
Javier, it's Marcia Kramer. I have a question for you. The Democratic State Committee has to meet in January to pick the official nominee of the party. Do you think that the party gives her the nomination, or will they lean towards somebody like Tish James or all the other people who are interested in running, Tom Suozzi and Steve Ballone and the cast of thousands that are going to say, hey, pick me?
Yeah. You know, Marcia, it's really early to tell right now. I have a little bit of trouble seeing the state party firmly getting, behind Kathy right now. I think everyone is kind of waiting and seeing how the incoming governor does in the first few months, particularly with the incredible pressing issues that we're facing right now when it comes to COVID, the housing crisis, the employment crisis. So I think we'll have to wait and see.
All right, Javier Lacayo, thanks so much. Good to talk with you as always, and thank you for taking a few moments for us here. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So we have the optimistic approach. We have a little bit more of a pessimistic approach here. She's only been sworn in for about 10 hours and 20 minutes. But again, we still have to look at it from both sides.
Well, I think that he raises an interesting question.
Yeah.
And that is that if the state Democratic Party really wants to win, they're going to look at the person they think has the best chance and who's raised the most money.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal. So,
you don't get a grace period, no matter what the situation.
Not in New York.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Marcia, thank you very much. Good to see you, Marcia. As always.
And Governor Hochul will address, as she mentioned, the state this afternoon at 3 o'clock. We'll have live coverage of her remarks right here on CBS 2 and streaming on CBSN New York.
And, of course, we will have the latest on the inauguration of Governor Hochul coming up on CBS 2 News at noon, which will come your way in about 90 minutes.
For now, we return you to regular programming on CBS 2 and CBSN New York.